Hey guys, check it out. We're back on the Blue Collar Revolution podcast. My name's Quasi Wilson, and we got an instructor, James Lee, coming to join us today. We're going to do an interview and talk about his life, his transition from the military to being a welding instructor. Make sure you check it out on this episode of the Blue Collar Revolution podcast. James.
Quasi.
How's it going today?
Another day in paradise.
It's another day in paradise. Well, here we are on the Blue Collar Revolution podcast. Today, James, I want to ask you a few questions, get to know you, talk about your experience, your life, and what led you here.
Very well.
So first off, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, what about me? I moved my family and myself here from Tennessee just over a year ago. I got into the trades about almost 15 years ago after the military. Just been building on it ever since, you know.
What branch of the military did you serve?
Marines.
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your service.
Thanks, buddy.
Did you do 8 years or more? Or
Did 10.
10 years?
Yeah, did 10. Mm-hmm.
What was your MOS?
03, 51 infantryman, assaultman, yeah.
Very cool. Did you deploy any spots?
Three
Where did you
times
go?
to Iraq, yeah.
Crazy. You left the military.
Yeah.
What made you choose welding?
I dabbled in it a little bit in high school, you know, the high school shop class. And then I come home and I'm 27 now and I've got some kids and a wife and they got to eat. You know, so it was back into welding after that.
So when you got out of the military, did you go straight to Tennessee?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had several plans in place and it ended up back at mom and dad's house back in Tennessee again, trying to get my feet under me, you know. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where at in Tennessee?
Northwest, right on the Kentucky state line. Yeah.
Sweet. I love Tennessee. It's my favorite.
I don't miss it, man. I'm
Really?
glad to be in Wyoming. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're in two separate boats.
Oh, I love
but
it.
I'm
out
born and
here.
raised here,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's cool. So what did you do to get into the welding industry?
I got a job at a little shop. First of all, let me think here. So the family kind of owned a scrapyard back in Tennessee, and that's where I landed at when I got back there. And I knew I wanted to get into welding because it paid better than the scrapyard, you know. So I got into like a little, wouldn't even call it a fab shop, kind of a little blacksmithing shop in Gleason, Tennessee, and just started going there. I was there for maybe 6 months. Boss was a pretty hard guy to deal with. It was just real small operation. Me, the boss, two other guys, and the other guys had already bounced out, but I walked out on that. But anyway, in the process of going through that there, one of those guys I worked with was a union boilermaker, and he got pretty ticked off at the boss there one day, sitting there at lunch. He's like, "Hey Lee, you got a smartphone?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure do, buddy." He's like, "Hey, get on there and Google the industrial projects report." So I get on there and Google it, you know, and he's looking these little thumbnail ads: electricians needed, HVAC needed, pipe welder, tube welder, whatever. He's looking through, and the first one pops up there, says tube welders needed, and he's like, "Tube welder right there, you know?" "Yeah." "Give me that phone number." So he pulls his flip phone out, goes to typing. This is on our lunch break, you know, makes this phone call. "Yes, sir, I can pass your test, no problem." "All right." "Yes, sir, I'll see you on Tuesday." This is on maybe a Thursday. "All right, sir, I'll see you on Tuesday." Hangs the phone up, looks at me and says, "Where's New Hampshire?" So, you know, and I tell him like it's as far as you can go north. And he's like, "Huh, well, I'm going to go buy a new truck." And he walked out the door, and he lived in New England up there for the next 8 years. So there at that point in time, I knew I needed to learn how to weld pipe. So.
Wow.
And eventually I got there.
So what was your first job like that you remember, your first welding job that you got into?
Oh, that would be there at that shop. We worked on some farms, worked for some clay mines around there, and a lot of junk stuff, you know.
Like equipment repair?
Yeah, equipment repair, machine repair, and some clay mines. Right out of the gate, first day, we went to a big farm there, and we were hanging catwalk up in some grain bins and things like that, you know. So.
So what ultimately led you to getting into the pipe welder and that higher skilled trade?
Yeah, so I left that shop, you know, like I said, and went to another shop, and great people, family-owned company. It's been in business since 1966, matter of fact. I'm still really good friends with them to this day, but I was there for about 5 years deep, and some leadership things had shifted, and it was time for me to kind of move and make a change, you know. And like I say, they're still really great friends of mine today, but it was time for me to take another step, and that's when I went back to school myself in McKenzie, Tennessee, and learned pipe there.
Community college or?
Tennessee has what's called TCAT, and it's sort of it's like a trade college, and they're placed all across the state there.
Cool.
So I actually ended up working at the one in Paris for a year after I graduated the one in McKenzie. So the people of that company were really great because they allowed me to go to school and work there. And I graduated school, and I'd jump out and go do a quick job somewhere and come back there again, you know, go work a shutdown and come back to them again. And eventually it got into me teaching, and I just sort of filtered out to other things after a while, you know.
Now, out of all the jobs you've had, Tell me your most favorite, right? When out of all the jobs you've done, what's something that you've done that you're just super proud of, or was the most fun, or the craziest thing you've done?
I taught some classes for some maintenance guys at U.S. Smokeless Tobacco. That was really cool to see that facility and how that all operated. Worked in Kellogg's where they make Pringles and Keebler Club crackers. That was cool to see that operation, you know.
Yeah.
To what's really the coolest, I don't know if I can really put a thumb on that or not. I was building a powerhouse before I came here. That was pretty neat. Just a giant hole in the ground and you see it come up out of the ground. That was a pretty cool project, you know. But I don't know what would be I'd consider the coolest. All of it had fun parts and all of it had stuff that sucked, you know. So
Sure, always.
I can't really put a thumb on what was the best or the coolest, you know.
How long have you been at Western Welding Academy?
Just over a year, like a year and 2 weeks, I think.
What's your favorite part about being an instructor here?
This place is awesome to work for, first off, like massive amount of freedom, right? So we had a student graduate not long ago, right? This guy came from Michigan and had never welded in his life, okay?
Yeah.
And he's not a kid, he's got a wife and he maybe late 20s, right? Never welded in his life, comes to Western Welding Academy, fast forward 10 months later and he now works at Black Hills Energy, right? So, which is a pretty advanced test that he took to get in there, right?
Sure.
So that's what makes it, that would have to be the best right there when those things happen. You know, I got a kid that graduated not long ago and he's building sanitary piping systems, stainless pipe systems now he's building, you know, building and welding, and that's what makes it the best. These guys that come through here and they really crush it and kill it and they put the effort forth and you see them become what they are, you know, a year down the road you see them and they're just killing it, making really good money and enjoying what they're doing, you know.
That's incredible.
That's definitely the best part of it.
What advice would you give a young man or woman that are getting into the trades?
Literally get in anywhere you can get in and just keep digging. The number one thing I would say is don't be afraid to take the next step. Don't just get stagnant and just spinning your wheels and don't be comfortable where you're at.
Right.
Even last week, I went back and put the student hat on myself and I was the one in the classroom and getting my butt kicked, you know. So don't ever be afraid to take the next step. Right. Even if you fail, go do it again, you know, and you'll get it.
Right, and everybody, you know, they come to school and they graduate and everybody expects this extremely high-paying job right out the gate. And some guys can do it. You know, some guys are slick enough and skilled enough that they can jump in and do it, but I think it's important for these kids to know that, hey, take what you can get, right?
Yeah.
You just jump into something. You're going to start making money. You're going to start,
You're
going
to
to get your feet wet, and then doors are going to open. You're going to see other opportunities and ways for you to go, but if you don't do anything, you know, your lack of decision is going to...
It's going to fall apart on you. You know, we had, I don't know if you remember, Isaac Shearing came through here, great student, great kid, worked really hard, graduated early, but kind of like that, he got out there and was having trouble getting his feet under him, but he stayed persistent and persistent and persistent, and finally it kicked off for him, and now he's busier than he wants to be. You know? So it'll happen. You know,
determination and consistency will take you
absolutely
pretty far. As you were getting started in your blue collar career, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced personally?
Myself, I guess, not taking the next step when I should have took the next step. That ended up turning into my wife was like, okay, this is enough of this. You deserve more than where you're at right now, so let's go do something else, you know. So after school, when I went back to learn how to weld pipe, it took some time to get the ball rolling and get work going, you know. I had work, but it's not really where I wanted to be. I wanted to be doing more, making more, you know. So it took me a while. Kind of like I was saying about Isaac there a little bit. Kind of took me a while to get it going where I had steady work under me, you know. Better work, pipe work, you know.
Right. Something where you're able to grow and you know, make more money. In your opinion, working in the trades, how important is it to be a team player? It's
everything. I mean, you're going to be a part of a team, you know, whether you're working with a fitter or you're in a crew of guys or whatever it's going to be. And no matter how good you are at it, if they don't like you, they don't want to be around you, you're not going to make it. They're not going to keep you around. They'll get somebody who's not as good of a welder, but he's a cool guy.
Try telling the kids all the time when they come to school, it's like, hey, your biggest thing you could do is network.
Absolutely.
And if you're not good at being social, it's a great time to learn because a lot of this industry is who you know. Knowing people can get you places, and you know, like you said, if you're not very likable or you don't even try, you know.
Well, your name is everything, you know. I've got numbers saved in my phone right now of students that have graduated, and I won't answer it when they call. And I've got numbers in my phone right now of students that didn't make it through our program. And if they call, I'll answer it.
Right.
You know, and it's I'm not going to help you out if you're not going to be a good name for yourself, you know.
Right. Be respectful.
Yeah.
Be nice, you know, and treat people how you'd like to be treated. I think that's common sense, but common sense is not so common.
Uncommon virtue, I'm afraid.
When you were just getting started, so you got out of the military, what were some of your long-term goals that you set? You think where were you trying to get, and do you feel like you've accomplished them?
I don't know that I've really, I don't know.
Sure.
I was just kind of working and feeding the kids, and bought a house, and my life's kind of been this huge roller coaster and divorce, and you know how the whole thing goes. I'm sure you've heard it before, but I don't know that I had any real long-term goals when I first got started, and then as I progressed through, I learned that I enjoyed teaching, and I don't know. That's strange to say that. I never thought about that, but I don't know that I ever really thought about long-term goals. I was just working and living.
So after 10 years in the military, was it hard to transition back into a civilian life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's easier to become a Marine than it is to become a civilian again. So,
Sure.
Yeah, it's quite difficult.
I believe that. I've witnessed that a few times with people, but a lot of good military men and women I've met that are in the trades. Yeah, I can only imagine. It's just being a civilian is a different lifestyle.
It is,
man.
yeah.
It
Well,
is.
you're a sergeant with 10 years in the Marine Corps one day, and the next day you're just a turd in a shop somewhere.
Yeah, right.
With
no structure.
Making about 80% less than you were yesterday, so
Right.
it's tough, yeah.
When you were stationed out in Iraq, what did you miss the most about the civilian life?
Food, or showers, maybe. Yeah, either one of those two would go good. There was times where we were splitting food between me and my buddy Keith, and splitting canteen because we were out running the supply train of food and water. And I think I went one time for 28 days and didn't unlace my boots. So
Jeez.
creature comforts, that's
were
probably what you
glued to your
miss
feet,
most.
I imagine.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, 3 months or so without a shower, and
The
that
little
was,
things we take advantage
that
of.
was back during the invasion. Yeah, it was a fun time. But,
Debatable.
yeah, your little creature comfort things, a good cheeseburger, or just taking a shower.
When you sit here where you're at today and you look back on your journey from a young 18-year-old man to where you're at today, what's your feelings? How do you feel about where you've been and what you've done?
Made some mistakes along the way, but who doesn't? They made me who I am today, so pretty proud of where I'm at today. Got the kids out here and happily married and pretty pleased with where I've came so far, got a good relationship with the Lord, and that's all a guy can ask for,
Yeah, how many kids you got?
We got 6 total, split between me and the wife.
That's
yeah.
a house full.
It is a circus.
Yeah, what's the age ranges?
Got them from 18 to 11.
Okay, cool.
It's a bunch.
Yeah,
10, not 11 yet. He's 10. Yeah, 18 to 10.
almost 11, huh?
He's getting there. I don't want him to grow up too fast.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you come from the great state of Tennessee,
Debatable.
and there's lots of trees,
Yeah.
humidity. It's a beautiful country over there. What are some of the things that you like and the changes that you've experienced going from Tennessee out here to the good old YO?
Oh, everything. So me and the wife had been coming out this way for 8 years, I guess, now together. We'd come for a couple weeks, hiking, fishing, camping, West Wyoming, West Montana, So we knew we wanted to be out here anyways. But I came out here in February, did my interview with you guys, and went back to Tennessee, was getting the house ready to put it on the market, and I'm building a fire ring in the yard. This is in February, building a fire pit in the yard, and I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes and sweating. And I was right then, I'm like, okay, we got to get this done and get out of here. So,
Yeah.
But love Wyoming, really love it out here.
It'd have been probably 20 degrees
Yeah,
maybe out
maybe
here.
if we're lucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's better that you love it than dislike
Oh,
it. It would
absolutely,
be
yeah.
a terrible transition to,
Yeah.
we did last week. We had an interview with Mr. Lance, and he's not such a fan of the cold.
He's a Texan. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a cool place up north of town too, way out in the middle of nowhere. It's awesome up there. So
Cool.
I got like a 5-mile driveway, and you can't beat it, man.
Couple
Beautiful
acres,
all
10
the way
acres
up.
plus.
We're renting on a ranch actually,
okay.
so it's a 3,700 acre ranch, and it's gorgeous all the way up the driveway, and
Yeah,
it's perfect.
that's cool. The lack of humidity doesn't get you at all?
I love the lack of humidity. This morning it's raining outside and it's kind of humid, and I'm like, go away. My glasses are fogging up when I'm welding, and no, I don't like it. I want to feel like a piece of jerky,
So you always hear the stereotype, right, that you got to go to college to be successful. Give me your take.
That was the story the whole time I was growing up too,
Sure.
and it's total BS, Now I've got a buddy of mine, a very close friend of mine. I've got 2 buddies of mine that are doctors, 10 years in school, and they've got the student loans, and they make the money, but that's not for everything. Back the first time I started teaching, matter of fact, they wanted you to be working toward a degree yourself, and I started some classes, and it just not for me, man. And I'm doing very well now,
Right.
So the money's there if you just go get it. You don't got to have a strong education, but you got to have a skill,
You got to have a drive too, yeah.
And you got to have the work ethic and the drive.
As Grant Cardone will say, there's no lack of money in the world. The money is the ocean. It's up to you to fill as many buckets as you can out of the ocean. And once nobody will notice that you've taken buckets, But,
yeah, that's an absolute fact. You got to do the work,
Tell me what your thoughts are on the importance of the blue-collar trades in our country.
I mean, blue-collar trades build the country. It's building a powerhouse before I came here.
Right.
Yeah, without that, there's literally no infrastructure.
Yeah. We wouldn't be doing this in a warm podcast room, that's for sure.
Not at all. No. It's everything,
What are some of the things that the younger generation, as they come into age to join the trades, what should they consider? What should be their forefront, right, in their head? What should they be paying attention to? What should they be considering as they come into these trades?
I think you need to be looking at, what's going to be right for you. Some people are going to be made for college, and being doctors, and some people are going to be made for the trades. Some are going to be made for the military, and kind of and it's difficult, especially when you're 18. You don't know what you want. So that's probably I'd say the most important forefront thing as you're coming into your 17, 18, 19 years old is figuring out what's going to be for you, Some people are going to be made to be managers, some welders, electricians, whatever it may be,
Right. And I get, I have a lot of times I talk to these kids that are 17, 18 years old, getting ready to join the school, and then they get all applied and ready to go, and then they're like, oh no, I'm going to go join the Marines and I'm going to learn to weld, or I'm going to join the Army and I'm going to learn to weld. And what's your thoughts on that? Like, is that an appropriate way to do it, or do you think, yay, nay?
No, I definitely don't think the military is where you need to go if you want to learn how to weld. I was infantry, so it was a little different. The Navy may have some kind of good welding program. I don't know real deep into it, but I just don't feel like through the military you're going to get the level of welding experience that you'll get in any trade school. It's not Western Welding Academy, but it's not going to be the same, I don't believe.
Sure.
I think you're going to be more broad. You're not just going to be a welder. You're going to be a welder and a machinist and a fabricator or whatever.
Right.
It's not just going to be this one thing that you learn.
For sure. We hear all the time that Gen Z is lazy and they don't want to work and they're glued to their phones. What is your experience that you've had with these kids? What do you?
Oh yeah, that what's the word I'm looking for? That mindset of thinking that these kids are these damn kids today. They don't want to do anything. Work. I'm here to tell you right now, as a year here, that is bullshit. Completely. These kids, because I was the same way when I came here. Like, these freaking kids, they ain't worth a crap anymore.
Right.
Not these kids. You need to get some that come through that don't really care. But these kids have got drive, they got work ethic, and they got to go get it. 90% plus of them do.
And I've heard it a lot too. This next generation, we're so screwed. They don't want to work, they want to do nothing. What we've learned at Western Welding Academy is like, hey, the older generation doesn't know how to communicate to the younger generation.
That's what I see.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where we're really good at is talking to that younger generation. And then the younger generation wants to work, man. On the blue collar tour, we travel all over the states, get to meet all these kids, and they're hungry. They really are. Like I was worried until I did the tour, and then I'm like, oh guys, we're so good. Yeah. They're just as savage as we are, They're excited and they want to get to work. They just need taught. They need led, and they need people like us to guide them the right way.
The older generation doesn't understand communication. Yeah. That's exactly it.
They don't understand. I mean, some of the younger generations, some of the terms and verbiage that they've used and come up with, but
it's a little different.
It was the same way for our, our grandparents. They look at the things we say and they're like, "What are you saying?"
Yeah. My kids hate it when I find out one of those new fancy words they're using, and then I start using it.
It's not so fun. What's the best way, would you say, for kids joining the blue-collar trades to be successful? What is something they need to do?
Just like I said before, do not be afraid to take the next step. When you see yourself starting to kind of get stagnant or comfortable, look for the next step. Look for the next job. Look for the next certification. Whatever that step may be looking for it always, and you will be successful if you just keep going.
What can you say that the blue-collar trades, what has it given to you?
The happy, comfortable life, and it ain't always been easy. There's a lot of digging and a lot of pretty rough work I've done in there, but man, I live a really good life now. My family, my kids, wife, we all live a really good life. Nice home, we drive nice vehicles. We're not afraid of where the next meal's coming from, and that's all came from the trades, It allowed me to build into what I've got going on here today,
Now, there's times you said you kind of got stagnant or stuck.
Yeah.
But besides that, in your time, did you ever struggle to find work?
Well, so I was at that shop that the one that I was at. I was there for for several years, and it was always there. You know, there's really awesome people. I would try to go work a shutdown or something, and then what was that? So I was at Kellogg's working for Mid-South, right? Shutdown engine, get laid off, whatever, you know, call them up, trying to find the next job. They wanted me to go to Arkansas. I think I had my kids in the car with me. I'm like, hey, he wanted me to leave right now, you know, to go to Arkansas. And I'm like, can I leave in the morning? I got my kids, you know. Yeah, let me call you back here in a little bit. And I haven't heard from him since, right? So, but there was always that shop back there. I'd fall back to that shop every time. So I always kind of had that to fall on, you know. And so no, there was always something. There was always something to do. Yeah.
Hear that, guys? There's always work.
Yeah, you can definitely get it for sure. You know.
Good. So as you were interviewing for positions, what are some of the coolest places you've been?
Well, I stayed right there close to Tennessee. I went into Kentucky and worked. I went to Arkansas and worked a little bit. So that whole side of the country, man, is, you know, it's green and humid and
trees.
Buggy.
Hey, man,
yeah.
There ain't no trees out here.
Buggy. Stuttgart, Arkansas was kind of cool. I worked in Riceland in Stuttgart, Arkansas. That was an interesting place. They had a man lift in there. It was like a conveyor belt that went to the top and bottom, and this thing had handles and paddles on it, and you would just step on it and ride that thing to the top. So, that was kind of a neat little place. But smokeless tobacco was pretty awesome. That was really cool getting to work in there. That place is something else. Every can of Skoal in Copenhagen on the planet comes from a 90-mile radius right there, and they're not afraid to throw money around. Those guys' break rooms are hooked up.
I bet.
And that was a cool place to go check out.
So if you could go back in all these years, what would you do different, or would you do anything different?
As far as my work career goes, my trades career.
Your trades career, your choices, your life, just anything. Would you change it?
I guess not, because even the crap that I went through kind of made me who I am today, you know. So
sure.
No, I think I'd probably keep it about the same as I did it.
Well, good.
It happened that way for a reason.
No regrets.
No regrets, man.
No regrets. That's great. Well, Mr. James, it was really great.
Absolutely,
appreciate you. Thanks you.
Sure, man.
Thank you for everything you do for us. I've heard great things about you.
Well, I'm doing my best, and I'm going to keep on going, man.
Good. I'm glad we got to have an interview, get to know you a little bit better, and thanks again.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's been fun.
What an incredible podcast, you guys. Thanks for checking it out. James Lee, thank you for your service. We greatly appreciate what you've done for us and this country. Kids, listen to what he has to say. He's got some really good points on why you should keep moving forward and don't stop. Thanks, guys. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. You know what it does. It helps us out. And we'll see you on the next Blue Collar Revolution podcast.